Concrete Cowboy. It's out now. It's out now. Tell me about your character. It's about a kid, Caleb, who plays in what's that Netflix spooky thing with the
Stranger
kids
Things.
with the changes
Hmm.
Stranger Things. Yeah, he's the black kid in Stranger Things. He's the what? Right,
We-
right. What's your relationship to him? To Idris Elba? What's your character?
yeah.
Who are you playing?
Um, yes. Caleb is pretty much the main person I'm playing with this in this entire film. I play his cousin. And yeah, Caleb plays a kid named, which is funny you said the black kid from Stranger Things, because I always go up to him like, yo, you the black kid from Stranger Things, right? And it's true. But I'm really proud of him because this role is about to do so much for him. And I think he's going to be introduced to the black community in a whole new light and a whole different way. And we're going to definitely appreciate him and his voice because he has a voice. He has a very big voice beyond being the black kid from Stranger Things. So I'm excited for him. But he played Cole, who's just this troubled teenager from Detroit who ends up being moved to Philly because he's just, running wild and being bad with his friends. So his mom sends him to live with his dad in Philly, and his dad owns a ranch in Philly, this is real. So I don't know if you guys know about just like urban horseback riding. Like I know you probably heard about the Compton Cowboys, but there's a ton of ranches in Philly as well. And
it's big in Baltimore too.
And Baltimore, yeah, there's a couple in Baltimore. It's just black cowboys. I mean, with the true love for horseback riding. And, American film has turned cowboys into, this kind of great white hero story. And we know the Westerns and we know all the classics and all that stuff. But there's such a strong, deep culture for black horseback riding in this country. It's unbelievable and it's beautiful and it's family-based. That's the best part. It's all family-based. And so in Philadelphia right now, there's a stable. They're actually struggling to stay up due to gentrification and people trying to come in and put a damn Starbucks where the stable is. But the stable is meant to bring kids, take kids out of the hood, take kids out of these crimes and out of these drug-ridden scenarios by putting them in a stable to tend to horses and chicken and cows and animals right there in Philly, right there where you heard the gunshot at last night, So there's this crazy mix of darkness and beauty when you watch this movie, because I'm playing a character named Smush, who is the main character's cousin, who is a drug dealer and very deep in the life of crime, but in his heart he loves horses. And he loves horseback riding, and all he wants to do one day is take that money and buy stables and raise horses. Now, when you think of a drug dealer on your block, I think the last thing you think is that he wants to buy a ton of horses and live on a farm and be somebody. When you think of a drug dealer, you think, man, his life is done. He went down the wrong path, and that's it. Boom, jail in 5 years, dead by 10. That's the unfortunate. But the best thing about playing Smush is that I got to show the side of a drug dealer who doesn't want to be a drug dealer. He just has to because of the system that he's in the world that he's in, where he can't come up for anything. He can't make a dime for anything. So what does he do? He sells drugs to his friends so he can make money and get out of there. So for me, my favorite thing about taking on a role is a role that challenges you or makes you see somebody in a different light or in a different way, in a way that you wouldn't think. So when you watch this film, I hope you see this thug in me, this thug. Oh, he's tough. Oh, he's cool. But really, he's a punk. He's a punk who loves to get on a horse and ride that mother freaker out of here, So there's a real cool beauty in there.
You're a real cool beauty, Jharrel. Emmy Award-winning Jharrel Jerome. He's about to appear in something called Concrete Cowboy, about a 15-year-old who's sent to live with his dad. He's from the hood, and he's sent out west, I guess, to live. Idris Elba is in it. Lorraine Toussaint is in it. Method Man is in it. Is this part of the outpouring of jobs that you're getting after the Emmy, or was this already in the works?
This was already in the works, but I shot it after the Emmy, so I definitely felt really cool shooting it. And the director was obviously like, thank you for winning that Emmy. That's only going to help this project. But no, it had been in the works. I actually haven't shot anything since after the Emmys, like anything new, because I'm very picky and I say no to a lot of things. My favorite word is longevity.
Wow.
My favorite word. Longevity
22.
in my career. Yeah.
Who says no? Who says no?
Listen,
My God.
I'm telling you now, I didn't speak like this 2-3 years ago. You know, with the way life changed for me, I had to either indulge in the fame and be a kid, or grow up and realize what I need to do to make this last. Because I'm not trying to be here for a year or two. I'm trying to be here for a long time. So I actually have been saying no to a lot of projects that I feel doesn't challenge me as an actor and challenge me in my career. I already did When They See Us in Moonlight. I'm trying to challenge myself more than that. I'm not trying to do any less.
I model my career after a few people. You know, I look at, of course, Toni Morrison from a writing standpoint, but just her grace and the way that she, you know, put the work in, getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. And she was a mom. She had way more on her plate. I look at Oprah in many ways, and, you know, I some things that I like, and then you chew up the meat, spit out the bones. Who's your inspiration artistically?
Artistically, it sounds like typical, but Denzel. Denzel Washington. My favorite thing about Denzel is that if you look at his early works, he didn't sag his pants, throw a gun around, throw up gang signs to get somewhere. You know, he didn't do that on camera to get somewhere. He was a strong leading man, and when he was a strong leading man, he was the man. And it didn't matter who was in it, what white person, what star was in it. When Denzel was in it, you were looking at Denzel. And that's why Denzel is Denzel. And I think that came from his knowledge of knowing that he didn't have many opportunities, especially back then. The When They See Us of the world and Moonlights of the world did not exist back in his time. And when he was doing something iconic, it was supporting a white man. But when he was, you looked at him, and you looked at him only. And there's a strength in that, and there's a power in that. And I looked up to that as a kid, and I couldn't even pinpoint why I looked up to it. I just knew it. I just felt it. I'd watch him, and I'd feel it. And it wasn't until the past few years where I'm realizing the position that I can try to build for myself is that it's kind of similar to what Denzel was doing back then, you know? And so I'd have to say Denzel is probably my biggest inspiration when it comes to film acting in general.
Did you learn anything working with Idris? I'm sorry, just Idris Elba.
Say it again?
Did you learn anything working with Idris Elba?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see him a ton. My character only shares one scene with him the entire film. So even though our characters are connected throughout the whole movie, I only had one scene with him. So I saw him once. And that's a man who, when you see him, you got to see him for 5 seconds and he's out of there. So what I did learn from him is that you can be the coolest man in the world and still be humble. You know, you could be the smoothest, charming, dope, where everybody looks at you like, oh my God, Idris, you know, and you could see it on the set, but then you could still see it in his face that there's this realness in him that hasn't been tainted. And I don't know how much work it took for him to keep that, but he came up to me and he complimented me on my work, and it felt like I had known him for so long, probably because I had been watching him growing up, but it felt like I had spoken to him before. This wasn't the first time we spoke, and I think that takes authenticity in someone to feel that, you know? So I think what I learned is that, you can always stay grounded no matter what, and meeting him was the proof of that, for sure.